Welcome. This is really our first step is lot preparation. And let's say you're going through your design build process and you've decided that this is the lot we're going to build on. Well, we need to do a couple of things first. One of the first things that we're going to need to do is to get a site plan of the property. We have a surveyor come out and they're looking at easements, the lot definitions, etc. We'll probably have to establish some hoarding, which is some kind of, you've seen that orange fence or you've seen skids that are around a property, that defines our building area. We'll probably have to have an arborist report, depending on the city that you're in. They'll look at not only the property that you're on, but all of the surrounding properties as well. They're doing a tree study to find out what, if any, are there as an endangered species on the property, trees that you can or can't take down, and if it's a city property, what they'll have to charge you as possible deposits in the event of any damage to that particular tree. The trees actually have their own hoarding that go around them as well. Once we've defined the site that way, then of course it's demolition day. That means that the house comes down, and it comes down usually in about 15 minutes with the great big sweep of the crane and off it goes. Challenge is, in a lot of cases, we get people that ask us, can we take down our own house? Well, the answer is kind of a yes and kind of a no. What you have to understand when we're doing a demolition is the fact that the material has to be separated. So wood goes one way, brick goes another way, and really that's what you're paying for in demolition. It's not so much the cost of actually just knocking it down, because that takes just a mere 10-15 minutes, but it's the removal. Where does that debris go? In many cases it doesn't even stay in Ontario, it gets shipped elsewhere, sometimes stateside. So we now have our lot looked after. It's now just a clean piece of land. We're going to excavate out the hole. So we've now determined how that actually looks. When you see the dirt removed, we pull up a lot of dirt, and you're going to go, man, is my house really going to be that big? And the reality is we need to be able to have an appropriate amount of space to pour the foundation and the footings for your house. Stone Mill is very concerned with water management, so you'll see that we actually dig down to what we call virgin soil, which is roughly about the 7-foot level, and we're going to look at putting our forms in for foundation. Well, if building code for a cement wall, like you'd see throughout here, is 8 inches, Stone Mill pours a 10-inch wall, and then of course puts its weeping tile and water management system around it. One of the reasons that we pour a 10-inch wall is that in many cases, at the time of build, we're being asked by the client to finish off the basement area. And we do that at a cost of about $40 a square foot finished. And that gives you the same kind of ideas that you would see on the second and third floors, which is drywall, flooring, etc. throughout the house. Because we're aware of the fact that we're pouring this 10-inch wall, we realize that we need to do that so that if we've finished the basement, we don't want to have to come back in the event of a leak or some kind of water problem because of the basement. So we're very conscientious about, after that foundation's been poured, putting in our water management system, which is our weeping tile. That's in the periphery of the property, goes all the way around. And in the case of something like a window well, we're actually putting in something called a French drain. And that French drain really is, looks like weeping tile material. It's a hose that ties into the weeping tile, and it comes all the way up right underneath the window well. It's a perforated hose. It also has gravel filling it, and there's a sock around it. So in the event that the window well was filled with debris or whatever the case may be, this French drain acts as a secondary system to allow water to have a place to escape and move away from the property. Part of our water management system, again, is that the grading of the lot itself. We want to make sure that the lot is actually kind of got a high point and slides off to the sides so that water doesn't accumulate around the foundation. Water and the foundation is not a good combination. So when we're close to a lake, in the case where we are in Burlington or in Oakville, we're very conscientious of how close we are. So that 7-foot level is really what we do to basically make sure that water doesn't sit around the foundation. So once we've got the walls poured, we can start looking at some of the engineering as far as the joists that you'll see up through here. And Stone Mill's standard is what you see in these engineered joists that are here. If you've heard of the silent floor, this is the silent floor type of joists that we use. This allows us to have a span of a maximum of 21 feet. So to kind of get rid of those nice little brown metal poles that you see in the basement, we're able to kind of congregate those poles in a very small area to make sure that there's lots of open area in the basement for pool tables or finishing off the basement for family rooms, media rooms, whatever. We have a secondary option, which is an upgrade for Stone Mill, which is allowing us to do an open web joist. So it's kind of like a roof truss, if you will, but in the height and shape of a joist. Now, there is an upgrade for that. It's approximately $6,000. But what it allows us to do is to run a lot of the engineering. So we'll have electrical, plumbing, our heating and ventilation systems. We can run it right through the open web. Again, it's also a silent floor system. It means the floors don't creak or squeak. Then, of course, the plywood subfloor goes on top of that. When we're actually pouring in a basement situation, one of the features that Stone Mill has as an upgrade, we don't have that many upgrades, but the couple that we do have really kind of make a quality of life something that you may want to consider. We have one which is called a walk-up basement, and we realize that lot permission or lot grading permission really doesn't have everybody being able to have a walkout, so we've created one. We've been able to kind of create a bowl around the foundation area and hold back the earth with armor stone and putting in limestone steps on the way up. We learned this particular process from one of our clients that was having it done, but we basically just dug the hole. So we put the doorway out, French door out, nice window on the side, and because we had nothing holding back the earth would slide down and come against the glass, breaking the doors, etc. So we were asking the client, how much was this costing them to have this done when it was all said and finished? And they said about $25,000, and we knew we could do better and pass those savings on to our client. So we were using armor stone versus just landscape rock. One is really the weight of that and being able to hold back the earth so there's no shifting. So in our walk-up basements or our half walk-up basements, we actually use large armor stone, which can only be put in by something very heavy. Our little Bobcat can't carry that stone, so it's obviously at the time that we pour the foundation that we put in that proper bowl. We put in the proper amount of armor stone so that it holds back the earth. There's not going to be any shifting there. We also put a layer of 4 feet of gravel that goes down there, again with another drainage system tied into our weeping tile so that we can kind of make sure that the water management is continued throughout the property. In this particular home, we've actually even done a finish coat and drain cap that you could see. So at the very bottom of the staircase, you would see that there would be this platform of concrete that's sitting on top of 4 feet of gravel. This really makes an element for the cost of $16,000 to $17,000 for this feature, just something that really sets off the backyard. And especially if you're putting in a pool, this is a wonderful way to actually have people come down into the entertainment center. You may have your pool table down here, your media room, possibly a secondary kitchen or a party room in the basement area. What I have behind me while we're in our basement situation is the electrical panel. And as you can see, code these days is a 200 amp panel. And you're seeing it all set up through here. When we actually have the house wired, really there's a couple of plans. As we walk through the rest of the house, we'll talk a little bit about the light engineering, where lights turn on, where they turn off, where they terminate, etc. And we want to make sure that you can really feel like if I'm walking through my bedroom, can I turn off the front hall light? So you'll see it through a plan that we're going to walk through. It's not unusual for you to see the Cat 5 wiring. A lot of times we're having people come in there and talking about Cat 9 wiring so that the house is Wi-Fi ready for your home and enjoyment. We also do some runs here. What you're seeing is a lot of times we'll get radio companies, people who do home stereos, etc., that'll pre-wire the house for a home theater system, etc., both up and lower, and also for satellite. And what you're seeing here is all of these termination points, these home runs, that allow you to have satellite feed right from if it's individual bedrooms, rather than having just one station where everybody has to watch dad's football game. Now by running the home runs, we can actually isolate satellite as well if you wanted to do something like that. One of the reasons that we've actually suggested that the open web design be something that you consider, as mentioned, $6,000 as an upgrade, is because we can run all of these lines, all of the electrical, all of the plumbing, all of the HVAC, right through each of those individual floor joists. There's very little cutting, saves the integrity of what's actually happening, and away we go. What also happens is that there is a minimizing of the waste that happens here. The reason why is because, like these engineered joists that come in, or the open web, they actually clip in, as opposed to putting in just 2x10 or 2x6 construction, or whatever the case may be, where we have to cut ends and have debris and material loss at the back end of that.